Hi, Dairy Fairies. Satara here again with another expert series interview. And today we are chatting with Katie Howser. If this is your first time tuning in, I want you to make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you don't miss any of our awesome expert chats that are coming up in the future. And our hope for these is that mamas and mamas to be from all walks of life will be able to use the information that we share here today to boost their mama IQ and connect with others. So let's just go ahead and get started. Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you just start off by telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. My name is Katie Howser, and I am located in the San Francisco Bay Area in California. I am a IBCLC, which is an International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. I own a private practice and offer home visits and also virtual consultations to breastfeeding parents, whether that be a weaning consult, a sore nipple consult, or babies not gaining weight. I'm there to support any breastfeeding person, their whole first, with all of their firsts, and even if it's their second and third and fourth kid, you never know what you're going to get. I'm just here to answer questions for clients and patients. I see a lot of families in the very beginning of their breastfeeding journey. And then I also see a lot of families towards the end of their breastfeeding journey trying to figure out how to help them navigate and figure out what works best for them in that moment. Obviously, that has been changing with COVID. So breastfeeding has changed with a lot of the families, whether they're doing it longer or shorter. But it's been really interesting to see the manifestation of how COVID has affected breastfeeding. A lot of babies out there don't want to take bottles because they're breastfeeding so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny you're saying that. I was actually just talking to a girlfriend, and she's at that point where she's like, okay, the baby's 2 years old and we're done. But because she's working from home and she has a lot more flexibility, she's kind of like,
I
oh, no,
know.
we might keep this up for a little bit longer.
Exactly. There's no reason.
Hey, I feel like it's all good. Do what best serves you and your family, the best.
Totally.
All right. So the Dairy Fairy is focusing on the concept of self love and self care this season. Do you have any tips out there for moms or parents in general that are struggling finding time to put themselves first? And also, just what are some things that you do to show your self love?
So getting outside is super helpful for me, and I definitely understand that's a different thing because I'm in California, so we have a fairly mild climate, so that's not an option for everybody. Um, so I do think that that helps lower my stress. I definitely am recommending to patients to get outside and try to go for a walk every day. I have a lot of the baby stores and mom groups and parent groups and dad groups have pivoted really well to create online support groups. So I have really been enjoying seeing the moms and dads and parents get together via Zoom or Google Hangouts. Even though they may be next door neighbors, they're still, they're not able to do that physical interaction, but they're still kind of seeing how each other's babies are growing. And I just think that that's really beneficial. So kind of finding a local support system has been really good. And then also just the very basic component with regards to self-care and breastfeeding is just when you have a letdown, when your milk starts flowing, there's oxytocin. And if you can just find like an app like Calm or just listen to a breathing technique, that will just really heighten that oxytocin, which is a pleasure hormone. And so that's something really easy to do because you're breastfeeding so frequently in the beginning. And so you can kind of ride that high, which is always good.
I love one thing I love is that picture, that poster behind you, the We Can Do It poster of
Yeah.
nursing. I think that is so awesome. What a cool piece of art to have right in your home. But yeah, I agree. I think that outdoor time, even, I mean, I'm in Chicago, and even though it's cooler outside, sometimes that's what you need, just like a
Yeah.
cold burst of air. to kind of make you feel a little bit better, to kind of step outside of whatever pressure you're feeling, in your home, and
Totally.
kind of just a change of scenery can really
Yeah.
benefit you.
I know in a lot of European countries, they recommend a baby sleeping outside for a nap, and I just think that there's something about, like, the change in temperature that can that is good for everybody.
Wow, I honestly didn't know that. I had
Mhm.
never heard that before. It's really cool. Um, so I know that with the holidays, this can already be a really stressful time of the year for people. And that's not even including the added stress from COVID. Can stress play a role in your milk production?
Yeah, milk supply can be lower due to, like, tons of factors. Stress obviously is one of them. Stress and lack of sleep.
Mm.
Those are really hard on milk supply. That's kind of ironic. But poor latch, infrequent milk removal, sore nipples, but the list just continues to go on and on and on. Um, I would try to find support specifically for whatever you are feeling, whether it's, milk supply or sore nipples. Um, but I would say the biggest nugget to take home is frequent milk removal and staying hydrated and snacking throughout the day. And then if you have an issue come up, addressing it as soon as possible. It's much easier in the lactation world to address something that is 5 day happened after 5 days than 5 weeks, and it's easier to have address something after 2 days versus 7 days. So just having a network there that you can reach out to. I have mamas call me regularly asking, is this something that you can help with, or is this do you address this? And it's like, well, let me guide you in a way that maybe it's not a lactation consultant that you need. Maybe it's a chiropractor or a cranial psychotherapist or a dermatologist or a breast doctor. But I think it's more important to give people more information than less, and don't feel like the internet is a tricky place to get breastfeeding advice because you have a mom, or a breastfeeding parent, a baby, or a toddler, and trying to work together. And so you have like three places that can kind of have issues, and we need to be really respectful that working together, again, the parent and the kiddo, it takes a lot, right? And that changes. Have you ever met, a baby that doesn't change drastically every few weeks? It
Yeah,
just doesn't happen.
yeah, very true. And then what are some other factors that breastfeeding parents may not know about that can negatively affect their milk production or quality or milk quality?
Well, quality is pretty consistent. Your body, the only organ that ever uses more energy than your brain is a lactating breast. So that's a really fun fact. And breast milk is 90% water. So 80 to 100 ounces of water is what you have to drink every day to maintain a milk supply. And I think that's a staggering number that people just don't follow. And so that's definitely one of my biggest pushes is drink enough water, because again, 90% of milk it is going to be water, 10% fats, proteins, carbs, vitamins, and minerals, and making sure that you stay on a really good your prenatal or a postpartum multivitamin, because your body gets depleted. I mean, you're growing a tiny human.
Yeah. Wow, I need to go and pour a glass of water right now. My son is, he just turned 4 months, but I feel like you just said the perfect word, just like depleting my body. He's nursing
Yeah.
all the time, and it's awesome. I'm amazed every day at the different things that my body can do, but drinking enough water has definitely not been something that I thought has played a big role. And to know
Yeah.
that breast milk is 90% water, I'm going to go and fill up a glass right
Yeah,
right after our chat today.
good. That's awesome.
So a relationship with a lactation consultant is just about as intimate as it gets. I
Yeah.
remember my first babe, after I had them, and the lactation consultant that was in the hospital just came and just grabbed my boob, and I was like, "Wait, I don't even know you yet,"
Why are you grabbing my boobs?
Yeah, yeah, it was very shocking, but you know, you learn very quickly that this is just the way that it goes. But because of that intimate relationship, do you have any tips for helping people find the perfect one for them? Or, do you recommend interviewing lactation consultants? Or what are some general tips for success?
Yeah, I would say lactation consultants definitely have different styles. So asking yourself what your breastfeeding goal is going to be important. So that goal can definitely be a moving target. So when you're pregnant, that could be like, I'm going to breastfeed for a year. And then when that you're 4 days postpartum, that could be like, I don't know if I'm going to breastfeed till tomorrow. So the idea is again, kind of finding someone that fits into your lifestyle. How do you feel about formula? How do you feel about pumping? How do you feel about bottles? How do you feel about sleep training? All of those things sort of play into breastfeeding. And so finding someone that is supportive in the capacity to kind of allow you as a parent to do the things that you as a parent have chosen to do, but also at the same time supporting you with your breastfeeding. So for instance, if I have a mom that's asking me about sleep training or things like that, I'll just give facts, like you can do this, this, and this, but not taking milk out of the breast for 12 hours will definitely lower supply. Here's a few things that we can do so you can sleep train baby, but also maintain your supply. So I just try to meet everyone in the middle. I definitely joke that I'm not a lactivist. I just kind of go in the middle and just really focus on supporting the whole family. And breastfeeding is not an all or nothing game. And I think that we have really got to get our head around that. Any amount of breast milk is good. And I think we feel there's a huge sense of failure if you have to augment with, donor milk or formula, but in reality it's just not the case. The baby gets all the immune benefits from your breast milk, even if it's not a giant volume or all of their volume. It doesn't make, using someone else's milk or formula doesn't make the milk that you are giving them any less beneficial.
Yeah, I struggled with that, and I know a couple of my friends have struggled with it as well. And you have to supplement with formula, and you're just kind of like, am I broken? Am I doing
Yeah.
something wrong? Why isn't my body producing enough milk? You know,
Yeah,
we're
totally.
really hard on ourselves, and I think that that's an important part of showing yourself self love. It's
Yeah,
not always these physical things that you can do to yourself, or going to buy something, or treating yourself to something extra. It's just giving yourself some grace and being like, I am doing just fine. I love that you said
totally.
any amount of milk is enough. It's
It
good
is.
enough for your baby.
It is. Breastfeeding is only 10% nutrition. It's 90% bonding, soothing, comfort, and immunities. So if you think about that, it's like dinner and a movie. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that you have to enjoy the process just as much as the end goal. It's like, I do test weights, which is where you weigh the baby before and after and see how much they've gotten. And that number can be important in certain cases, but that number is also, I think for some moms, it definitely feels like almost like a judgment and a grade. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's just like, let's just use, let's just get this baby everything that you can offer. And then if it needs to be a little bit more of supplementation, use it as a stopgap.
Good. That's super helpful and super encouraging. I think a lot of people will find comfort in everything that you just shared. So thank you.
Yeah.
How has COVID, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but how has COVID changed the way that lactation consultants are interacting with their clients?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's also it's changed, with pediatrics and sort of like all healthcare facilities and providers are learning to navigate how to do things via video. I definitely think with lactation we're learning as we go. I'm a much better lactation consultant now than I was, in March with regards to video. I do still offer home visits in my area. So I do still go into people's homes to see them because I do think there's a value of having someone come in, but I also understand that there is a risk with that. And I'm very respectful to people that don't want that and are just looking for some video support. We can get, 95% of what we would do in an in-person visit done via video. So we've definitely come a long way. And hopefully that will just allow more people that maybe don't have a lactation consultant in their backyard to schedule a video call with someone. And I think that there's just huge value in that because the internet does not have boundaries with regards to location. So
Yeah.
I've had people in Australia recently. I've had a lot of people that have moved that I worked with on their first baby, and I've been able to still support them. And I felt confident with the support that I was giving them. So it's definitely a change, but a great one. And I think that, again, all allied healthcare providers are learning to do a lot via video, which is exciting.
That's awesome. So, post COVID, do
Yeah.
you expect to continue to offer, virtual services to people?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of things that are actually just easier to do virtually, like pumping and things like that, going back to work, weaning, um, and then so because some people then can just pop on and they're not that they're at work very often, but it kind of just fits in and there's no travel time and everyone is feeling, or they don't, you don't have to be able to clean your house up and things like that. So I definitely think there's a value to that, and it's exciting that that's something that has come out of such a crappy year.
I know. One of the wins. One of the wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Silver lining.
Yeah.
Just in general, I would love to hear more about what motivated you to become a lactation consultant, and maybe even if you could describe what that process looks like
Yeah,
for
for
other
sure.
people that are interested in joining the field someday.
Yeah, so I was really young when I figured out that I wanted to be a lactation consultant. I went to college. I was a biology major in the very beginning, and then I struggled with organic chemistry. And so I decided I'm like, I'm going to go in because I went to school in California. I'm going to do something that can be in tech, so like marketing and communications. But then I realized I was going to sit behind a desk all day, and that just did not feel good for me. I've always loved babies. And so I became a postpartum doula, and I was helping moms, and I didn't even know lactation consultant was a thing. I was 22, right? I had no idea about this. I did remember my mom talking a lot about how she struggled with breastfeeding and it was really, really hard for her. And so I knew that there was challenges around it. I also knew that she talked about how it was so much easier for her sister and her sister-in-laws, and she just didn't understand why. And so through that, the postpartum doula, I was able to actually get into lactation school, and I went through UC San Diego. And because I was a biology major in the beginning of college, it was very easy to get in because I had all the prerequisites done. And then I was placed at a Kaiser Hospital in San Francisco, and I did all my clinical training there. And then I just opened a private practice, and it was, I was very lucky to sort of just be in a space. We in the Bay Area are super lucky. Most of our tech companies do pay 100% for unlimited lactation support. It's insane. So we're very, very, very lucky. And so people aren't, there's been a value placed on that sort of breastfeeding support, which had not been there prior. And then in school and sort of working with families, I actually was able to figure out why my mom struggled so much with us, and was able to help her kind of close that chapter. She cried and cried when I told her that it was because of this specific reason that she had no control over. And it was like, oh, she said, all I wanted was you to be my lactation consultant when I had you. It was so
That's
sweet.
so sweet.
So I feel really lucky.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing to hear that from your mom and be able to solve her problems, and go back and help her figure out what the problem was.
Close that chapter. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
close that for
Totally.
sure. And for other breastfeeding parents that are struggling or maybe struggling with nursing, or pumping,
Yep.
if you could give them one piece of advice to motivate them to keep going, what would that be?
Really, like I touched on a little bit earlier, it's not an all or nothing game. I mean, the bottom line is that any in tablespoons worth of breast milk, there's millions and millions worth of antibodies. And don't be hard on yourself, because if you push yourself so much, that can actually negatively impact supply. So I think really creating a support system, and giving yourself permission to combo feed, or to let the story play out differently than you had in your head, and not think of that as a failure, and just think of that as a pivot. Because we're all pivoting now. It's the same as if you go in expecting a non-medicated vaginal delivery and end up with a C-section.
Yeah.
It takes time to process that, definitely. But we still get a baby at the end of that, and we still get to love a baby at the end of that. So do the same thing. Be easy on yourself with regards to breastfeeding, because again, your baby's still going to love you however you feed them. I promise.
Yes, very true. Thank you for that. What are three products that you recommend that every nursing or pumping mama have, and why would you recommend those?
Yeah, so an IBCLC, which is the International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. So there's a difference between lactation consultants and counselors. The idea is that if you have an acute issue, you want to go to a consultant, an IBCLC specifically, because that's who kind of governs the most recent research and kind of keeps everyone in a scope of practice that allows them to be an allied healthcare provider. So that's a big deal, knowing the difference, and having someone that you've talked to prior to having baby, that can be really, really beneficial. A hands-free pumping bra, that's also a nursing bra, no joke. I That's like the one thing I tell everyone to put in their hospital bag, because you never know how baby's going to get here. You never know if you're going to need to pump in the hospital, but you want to have something that's comfortable for you, and you don't want to have to be putting something on and then off and then on and then off. And then a slow flow bottle, because again, that kind of speaks to, we never know what we're going to get and how they're going to get here and what we're going to need. And just having a nice slow flow bottle at the house in case we do need to supplement with either your own pumped breast milk, donor milk, or formula. We want to be able to feed that baby. Babies don't get nipple confused, they get flow preferences. And so we want to preserve the breastfeeding relationship as much as we can, if that's the parent's goal. So having that readily available is also good. And I would beg the question that having a pump in the house, and again, our insurances should be covering pumps prior to delivery is ideal, but it doesn't always happen, and that's okay. You should be able to rent one from the hospital or a baby store in your area.
Amazing. I know with my second, I just knew that I was going to nurse the entire time. So I didn't register for bottles. I was working from home, so I said, "Hey, I can just do this whenever I want
Yeah,
to, and I won't need bottles." And my daughter was the one that I had to supplement with. So here I am, fresh home
yeah,
from the hospital. I can't drive. I can't, so and then I'm out of bottles. I don't have any bottles because I didn't
yeah,
register for one. So I think that that is, no matter how much experience you have with nursing,
yeah,
because I nursed my son, my firstborn, you never really know what to expect for, what to prepare for. So just being prepared
yeah.
is important.
And it doesn't have to be a giant laundry list. It can just, just a few things, like what can help you as a parent, and what can also help your baby. And it's not a complicated long list. I know there's so many things out there that are like, you need 85 different things to make breast. Pretty sure you don't.
Yeah, you just need the basics. You just need to
Yeah.
get it done. Well, Katie, thank you again for connecting with us this evening. And how can people that want to learn more from you or connect with you or even work with you find you and get to know you better?
They can contact me at my website at katiehowser.com. There's a contact page, and that goes directly into my email. If you have a really quick question or things like that, you can also, my phone number is on there, and you can leave me a message, and we can kind of talk through if lactation help is what you need. And then I am at Lactation 101 on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. I really hope you found this session insightful, and I hope you enjoyed talking to Katie as much as I did and learning from her. I know I'm going to go and get some water now because
Good.
I know I have not been drinking enough water as I need to. But let us know in the comments what you thought about this session. If you have any additional questions that we can share with Katie, or who you'd like to see us chat with next. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon.